it's like anyone else. I mean, moving away is not easy, but you adjust and you're able to appreciate, I think, a lot more what you have at home. For one, it never slows down. There's always something to do. There's always something there going on that you can be a part of, and meeting new people. This, area is so diverse. There's so many people from all over the world that come here. I would say probably one of the most powerful cities in the world. And it's really opened our eyes to a lot of the things that are out there that, our kids hopefully will be able to pick up on. And
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, March 28th. We just spoke about the wedding. Remember when when Bunk Bed Jed got married to Katie, we called it the jetting. This was the jeering. This was the jeering. It doesn't really work as well. Bunk Bed Jed's twin brother is now a married man, and everywhere, somewhere, there is a lot of towels being used. Have you guys seen the list, the Duggar's list that they give to newlyweds? If you haven't, it's tagged on my Instagram. I suggest you check it out. So I was looking online because, listen, I have been working on this inside story, and while I've been working on that, my brain has been frazzled trying to bring you all the content that you love. And I saw this article, and listen, not my source, but this was a take that I thought was so unique that I actually thought I wanted to bring this to you. And it comes from Distractify, who interviewed Bowman Fidowski, who was Teresa Fidowski's son. Teresa is the midwife, and the families were close growing up. If you remember, Bowman was the one that did an AMA on Reddit, and he also made a video about how he got like computers from the Duggars and it had some stuff on it back in the day. So they asked Bowman, like, what is going to happen with Anna now that reality is about to smack her? Like, now that reality is about to hit her in the face because, Josh is going to eventually be sentenced, even though it feels like it's going to happen in 17 years. It's just less than 2 months. So Bowman doesn't have contact with Anna, and the Fidowskis are kind of like on the fringe, like many other families that have been kicked out of the Duggars circle. In the Duggars world, if you don't agree with them on everything, you kind of get the cold shoulder. But he says that he has a feeling that the reason why that she is staying in this relationship has to do with how she was taught growing up, and it's so much different than what I have been talking about, and it's kind of the same, but there's a whole you can't divorce your husband. There's a whole like women can't, they must submit to their husbands. There's the whole you have to forgive your husband for everything. You have to be a better wife. It's your fault. You are outside of the umbrella of authority. There's this whole idea about how it's never the fault of the individual. It's the fault of it's the sin. It's not the actual person. It's like the devil inside them. He positioned this in a way that I think is so unique, so I wanted to share that. He says this is something that people don't seem to understand is that if they aren't in the cult, honestly, as the Duggars are, and everyone else around them is, that they truly believe in radical forgiveness. Radical forgiveness. He says that the Bible story of the Apostle Paul, who did some things to some Christians but got forgiven by Jesus. They said that story is used all the time and will come up frequently in Duggar circles. And this is really ironic that he would say this because when all of this was going on, someone that was close to the Duggars said that they were already talking about how Josh was like Paul in that he had done something so horrible, so unforgivable, but he was like Paul, going to be punished, and he would come out the other side. Like they were going to martyr him in a way, because if Jesus could forgive Paul, you should be able to forgive Josh. It's such a weird, gross thing, but whatever. Like So here's what Bowman said. They truly believe in radical forgiveness. So it doesn't matter what you do or how bad it is. They look at it as a sin problem, and they believe that you can come back from it. So Anna, from what I've heard her say, she's probably going to stand by Josh thinking that he's changed or that he's going to become a better person and come back to Christ or something. Which is kind of what I said, is like, she's all about the redemption arc. So they want to believe that as long as they can get away from the sin, get away from the akin to witchcraft, get away from back under the umbrella of authority and back under like all things lining up, and he can get rid of that sin issue, everything will be fine. Except in this case, it won't happen because people like Josh cannot stop what they're doing and they're hard to treat. But he says that Bowman also shared that he wouldn't use the word brainwash to describe Anna, but in his opinion, he sees her sticking around to be by his side, whether he's incarcerated for 20 or 40 years or not. He says that there's almost nothing that would actually cause her to deflect from the IBLP or from the Duggars as a whole. Never say never. I mean, obviously you want to believe that someone can come out of this brainwashing. You want to believe that someone can open up their eyes and see the differences. And I think it's easy to say that she'll never wake up because, you know, right now we see a woman that's doing everything she can to stand by her man, and she has not wavered in her support of her husband. But I've also spoken to women who are like Anna, who have told me, Katie, the same thing happened to me. My husband did the same things, and I initially stood by him, and after he went away, I realized how bad it was, and I got out. I think Anna has to be able to remove herself from the brainwashing, and I don't know that he says she's not brainwashed, but it is, because the way that she's been taught is wrong, and what she knows about the world is like what's left is right and what's green is blue. And so she is brainwashed, but she's also so convicted and a true believer. So I do agree with him that it would be really hard to shake her up. Anna will not leave because of radical forgiveness. Do you remember when she said during the TLC episode when they came back on Counting On, and she said that she didn't want to turn a mess into a disaster, and she had known that Josh had done those sins before, but she also knew that he could be forgiven and he could be restored. And then, you know, like leading up to the months before he got involved in what he was doing, it's fair to say that Josh was doing this, I would believe, way before this happened. But when he got caught, she was on Instagram constantly saying, oh, he's been redeemed. Redemption is a beautiful thing. So in her mind, she believes as long as she's like a dutiful wife and she can forgive him, and he can forgive himself, and he can seek the Lord and get back to God more, he'll stop doing what he's doing. The problem with radical forgiveness, and I'm just going to say this outright, this is my opinion, you have a right to believe whatever you want, but when you're radically forgiving someone for doing something atrocious and you're not having them actually have to be held responsible, because up until this point, Josh has had no accountability. His dad was able to swipe everything under the rug for years and years and years. They were able to cover up what he did to his sisters. They were able to cover up what happened to the babysitter. They even covered up the relationship between Josh and Kaylee for years. Like, it wasn't until this trial that we finally learned about, oh yes, that rumored relationship he had with Kaylee was in fact real. And, you know, they somehow managed to make it so that anything that any of their friends said about what happened was not credible. They created a situation where people felt like they couldn't speak out, or they would be publicly humiliated by the Duggars or shamed, or worse. Without accountability and without real help, you can't get better. You can't say that someone like Josh, who's grown up in an environment where he's given everything that he wants, he is in a patriarchy where it's whatever he says goes. He could tell Anna every situation, every time from Tuesday, that he has gotten better, that he is redeemed, that he is with God, and then his actions clearly never follow suit. Josh isn't going to change at 34 and stop being who Josh is. Josh is not going to somehow stop being a pathological liar, in my opinion. Josh is not going to somehow stop being a danger to children. He's not going to stop being a danger to just the wider public. He is not going to be anywhere near fixable because Josh doesn't think he has a problem. If you have no remorse, if you have no accountability, and you don't accept responsibility for anything, and even if you do, it's like pompous and you just do it because you say you have to, Because I think I told you about this, but I'll bring it up again. When he was in treatment back in 2015, I spoke with someone who worked at the facility, and they said that they actually were around Josh quite a bit. And they said that Josh was so arrogant, so full of himself, and so not sorry. Not remotely sorry about what he had done to Anna, not remotely sorry about what he had done to his sisters, not sorry about anything. He was more annoyed that he got caught, and he was basically going through the motions to get through the treatment so that he could go home. I don't believe that when he went home, any of those behaviors changed. I think he just had to get smarter about working around things. I mean, even when you look at the court records and the transcripts from everything that we learned during the court and everything we knew about what they found, he was looking at adult content. At the same time, he's looking at the children's stuff, and he was doing this at work. Like, you're going to tell me that he somehow stopped doing that and it just sort of happened by accident? He's the one that was controlling her Instagram. Josh has no one to answer to because in his world, Josh is God. So as long as Josh holds that position in his family, he doesn't have to change. And as long as Anna is stuck in the belief system where she just has to forgive him no matter what, she's going to stay. Radical forgiveness isn't healthy. It's kind of like toxic positivity. You don't have to always be positive. You don't always have to be happy, and you don't always have to forgive. And some crimes are unforgivable. And I think what Josh has done is unforgivable, and he deserves the maximum sentence. And Anna deserves an advocate. She needs an advocate, a woman that works with women that are leaving DV situations. She needs to be around a support system that truly values her as a human and not as a commodity for babies. But in the current situation, no, she won't grow because no one around her wants her to grow. And Anna maybe just doesn't have the wherewithal to care to try to grow herself. And Jim Bob and Michelle might very well continue to enable it and support her the entire time because they feel like it's their responsibility. So what are your thoughts about this? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.